I tried to talk Keith Locke into it. I told him, because you want to do the playground.
Right.
That he'd be great to have his help, but he wants to take it easy for a little while. Town stuff.
Well, at this point, Keith might chime in here shortly, but we do have a quorum, so I'm going to officially open the meeting for May 5th, 2021 for the Southampton Planning Board. And we welcome all those that are joining us on Zoom and also those that are watching us on Charter Channel 191. Our first order of business tonight, we have two A&Rs that are going to be presented by Mark Reed from Heritage Surveying and Engineering. And I believe the first one you want to address is 32 Russellville Road.
Correct, and I can share the plan, Paul.
Please do.
Okay.
By the way, before he starts, I have received a check for $125 for each of those A&Rs.
So actually, the first one, Paul, is just a land swap. So we're not creating any new lots. So that one does not.
Are you sharing yet?
Yeah, I'm getting up there. Let's see here. Whoops.
There you go.
Can you see that? I got the
Yep.
wrong. I got the wrong one up though. Bear with me 1 second. That's the other one. Let me just get the correct one up here. All right. So you see this one on Russellville Road?
Correct.
Good. Okay. So this plan is being prepared for Christopher and Sonia Ames and Charles Fisher. And the Ameses live at 32 Russellville Road. What they're doing is swapping equal land area-wise between the two parties. So on the, as you can see, the existing boundary line kind of goes through their chicken coop. So Mr. Fisher is going to convey the Ames this 25, actually 25-foot wide strip of land. And this piece will be incorporated with their land. And it also now will put the corner of the house 30.9 feet away from the new boundary line, where before it was much closer. And then the Ameses are going to convey to Mr. Fisher, same square foot down this end of the property. And so this will be incorporated with other land of Mr. Fisher. So it's just a land swap.
Not creating any new lots.
No, we're not creating any new lots, so that's why there's no real filing fee.
Correct.
Taking care of a minor chicken coop and encroachment.
Questions from any board members on this? About the exchange of land?
Yeah, I do. I have a quick question. Because it happened to me many, many years ago, the first house we ever owned. Does this get filed with the Registry of Deeds? Yeah.
Yes, it does. So the plan that you're endorsing tonight will get recorded. There'll be new deeds for the both parcels to convey between the two individuals. Yes.
And no exchange of money?
No, it's just exchange of area of land.
Okay, thanks.
I don't think that's any of our purview in terms of exchange of financial. That's something we really can't ask. I don't believe.
I withdraw the question. Sorry.
Any other questions from board members about this land swap?
I have no questions.
Hearing no further questions, do I have a motion to approve the A&R as presented by Mark Reed for Christopher Ames and Charles Fisher?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion's been made by Dan and seconded by Paul. Any other further discussion? All in favor? Dan,
Aye.
Paul,
All I.
Cindy,
I,
and myself, yes. 400. Okay, Mark, now you want to go on to lots 4 and 5 on Crooked Ledge Road. So just before I go on there, so this Russellville does not need any address modification of any sort.
Correct.
Okay,
It does
So-
not.
so let's go on to 32 or 4 and 5 Crooked Ledge Road lots. Again, by Charles Fisher, the applicant.
Sure. So that's why you have a check in the amount of $250. There's 2 new lots being proposed here at the corner of Crooked Ledge Road and Former Road, noted as lot 4 and 5. Lots 1 through 3 on Former Road were previously approved by the planning board in October of 2019. So these lots have been previously approved. There has been a slight modification to the rear lot lines of all 3 of these lots. So that if you compare the 2 plans, you notice there's different areas to them. The previous plan had them larger in size, but they're all over the minimum 60,000 square foot acreage. So Mr. Fisher is proposing 2 new lots. We kind of have street numbers on here, Paul, because that's what was left.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, that anyway.
Yeah, right. This is what was left on the assessor's map for numbers in this area. So whether the house would face Former Road or Crooked Ledge Road, they have either 77 Former Road or 18 Crooked Ledge Road. And lot 5 is 16 Crooked Ledge Road. The remaining land that Mr. Fisher owns is about 23 acres of land.
My question is, at this point in time, do we know if lot 4 is going to be on Former Road officially or Crooked Ledge Road?
I don't know yet on it, Dan, to be honest with you, because he is just selling the building lots. He doesn't
Yep.
have anyone
Yep.
yet to purchase them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know, but there's the option of either way. Either direction has sufficient frontage over
Sure.
175 feet of frontage on Former Road and also Crooked Ledge Road.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, if these A&Rs are approved, then how are we going to know to inform the assessor's office of the which correct address they're going to select?
So I guess that's during the building permit application, Paul, depending on which way they want to face their house.
Mhm.
They'll have to do a sign off sheet to you and to other boards. So that at that point in time, they'll have to do a plan showing which direction the house is going to face and whether it's going to be on Former Road or Crooked Ledge Road.
So when I submit this to assessors Martha Leamy, I guess I better put a question mark on lot 4 then, correct?
Yeah, we have both, right? I guess Martha needs to know that, yeah, it could be either 77 or 18.
Gotcha.
And that corresponds to the town master map that we have. So I'd say that that's in conformance with what's available to that particular corner lot.
Correct.
Any other questions from the board about the size of the lots or any other information they might seek from Mark on these two lots?
I have no questions.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept these lots as legal lots.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Dan and seconded by Paul. Any other further discussion? All in favor, Dan,
Aye.
Paul,
All aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Cindy?
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
And myself, aye, so 400, those are approved. Thank you, Mark.
Yes,
I'll get those signed for you and hopefully get them up to your office tomorrow because I'm gonna be out of town after that for a few days.
okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Anything else, Mark? That's it?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, good night all.
Night.
Right.
Next on the agenda, I've got Brian Gielahers here. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because I couldn't remember it. Is your request for a bond reduction for Hallen Way or Fitch Farm?
For Fitch Farm.
Okay. I guess I got them mixed up because of your street acceptance. Your street acceptance information is for Hallen Way. Okay.
Well, I
So-
don't, correct me if I'm wrong though, on Hallion Way, I can't get the bond to 0 until the road is accepted, I believe.
That's what my understanding is.
Yeah. So that's, we've already reduced that one a few years back, so it's at bare bones, so.
Okay, so give us your pitch for reducing your bond at Fitch.
What we have for work left is to install the sidewalk on one side, the street trees, the planting in the center island, and the loaming of the roadway right of it, the edges of the roadway, cul-de-sac, and the final top course paving. So did you speak to Mr. Furman about completion of work or dollar amount on this?
I didn't hear from John. I don't know if he's out of town or he's
Okay.
extremely busy, but I hadn't heard back.
I mean, I put some budget numbers together on it, and I'm floating around $85,000 to $92,000. I'm comfortable if we could reduce it down to 100.
And what is it at currently?
I forgot to check that in my office when I left. I think it's somewhere in the mid 4s.
So you're asking for a reduction to 100 or
Correct.
thoughts on that, Paul?
So so right now it's at, I'm sorry, I missed that number. What's the number that it's at now?
400, what'd you say, 400 something?
I think it's it's like 4.25 or 450 off the top of my head. I forgot to look this afternoon.
And you have left is the top course, right? That's
Yep.
in the planting you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
And the sidewalk. So the sidewalk, I mean, I wrote the check for the sidewalk fund, which was about 13 or 14 grand. I figured the top course at 40, so you're at 65, and then I threw in 20 for the street tree plantings and loaming.
What's the length of the road again? I'm sorry.
Just over 800.
Hold on, let me do my calculator math here. Carry the 2. Hold on.
Hey, Sarah, are your wheels turning?
interesting.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I thought John would have sent you something.
I was very surprised
Yeah.
he's,
No, that's in line. That's in line with what I would expect.
so you concur that 100,000 is not unreasonable?
No, I think it's a reasonable number.
Any other questions from board members that, I'm deferring to Paul with his expertise on that with the, what's left to do on the project. Anyone else have comments about reducing that bond?
I have no comment.
So do I have a motion to reduce the bond for Fitch Farm Way to $100,000?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
any other further discussion? All in favor? Cindy,
aye,
Paul,
aye.
Dan,
I
myself, aye. Okay, do you want a letter to that effect, Ryan, for your company, bond company?
Yeah, I do need something from the planning board stating that, you know, the date and time that you're allowing the reduction of bond to a total of $100,000.
Do me a favor so I don't have to dig through paperwork because some of it may be at town hall, but
Find the original bond.
yeah, and just give me the name of the company and their email address so I can send it off to them.
Yeah, I have the original bond. So what I'll do is I'll forward that to you tomorrow.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Before I get to committee reports, I have some communications that have come through since we last met, or you guys last met. I was away in Maine at that time, and Paul, thank you again for chairing that meeting. The biggest question in our minds was after the April meeting regarding the zone amendment change for 173, 175 College Highway. And we were, after our vote, which was a tie, if you'll recall, and those in the audience recall, it was a tie, and there was a question about how that may go forward or not go forward to town meeting. Town Administrator Red Gibson consulted with KP Law in Boston, the town council, and Michelle Randazzo, Esquire, responded this past week. I forwarded you that email and I'll read it into the record. Good afternoon. You have requested an opinion concerning the effect of a 2-2 planning board vote with respect to a pending zoning bylaw amendment. As I understand the facts of the recent planning board hearing held pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment change, the board was split 2-2 on the proposed change. In my opinion, in this context, this is simply neither a favorable or unfavorable recommendation. It is the equivalent of the planning board taking no position. In other circumstances, a 2-2 vote would mean that the motion made failed, which is why I expect this question has arisen. Michelle Randazzo, KP Law, Boston. So as it stands, that will go to town meeting under no recommendation from the board. And in conjunction with that response, I had also, in the meantime, asked our board consultant, Larry Smith, to weigh in on it. And he sent a few scenarios, which pretty much is along the same lines. The only thing different, and I'm not, I'll have to consult with Ed Gibson on this. The only other thing that's interesting is his comment saying that the planning board is not required to make any report or recommendation if it doesn't want to. What I would be a little concerned about is lacking some sort of agreed upon planning board explanation. Planning board members will end up making their own statements at town meeting as private citizens. And he's not sure that that is necessarily a good or bad, just something that generally makes me uncomfortable about publicly dueling board members. So he was suggesting that perhaps the select board or whatever might allow those that voted in favor and those that voted against that evening to state their reasons why. So I don't know where that stands, if it's permissible to proceed on that, but I'll check with Ed. Has anybody's got thoughts about whether you'd like to say why you voted for or against that particular zone change that evening? Dan?
I mean, I'm not sure I really want to. I think that we've already heard and listened to people, and we've voted, and now I want to leave it up to the townspeople to make their decision. And I don't think I want my vote to influence their thought process in that, but that's my opinion.
Cindy?
Well, I clearly stated when I made the motion that the reason I opposed it was that there was no plan. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to hear the recording, if it was available, was, and somebody can correct me if I didn't hear this right, but I thought I heard somewhere along the line, Rob Levesque, on behalf of his clients, saying they might even sell the property. So while I understand the need to consider ways to increase commercial businesses in our town, as a personal opinion, I wasn't in favor of seeing this particular property developed commercially, but more importantly, that if there was a plan, as there was the first hearing, and they did not present it the second hearing, to do a specific thing, then that would have been something that we could kind of put our teeth into and agree or disagree to. But no, they didn't. They were just stating they wanted the zoning change, and that I thought I heard them say that I might even sell it. That really opens up our town for, an unclear understanding of what's going to happen with that particular property. So that was very strong in my mind, in addition to all the other points made by Bob Kozeb from the Historic Commission, and also others that I remembered speaking at the previous hearing. That's part of my thinking.
My question again, though, is, do you think that once this comes to town meeting, is anyone in favor of stating as a board member their reasons for voting each way? And so it might be included in the subtitle there on the town warrant, where it usually says the board either rejected or promoted the idea. I'm not sure it'll be accepted by Ed, but if it is, would you like to state your opinion? Or
I think, Paul, I hear two questions there. One question was, what should be written at the lower end of that number on the warrant, as we often see with the Finance Committee, agree or disagree, support or not support? That's one question. And the other question is, would anybody or myself be willing to stand up and express my opinion? So I think as for what's printed on the warrant, this is my thought, that would just be planning board had no vote, or however you want to state it, however the attorney from KP Law stated it, because we didn't really agree or disagree. We were a tie. That's what I think we should state in writing. But as far as me standing up and giving my opinion, it's pretty possible that I will stand up and give my opinion. Question is, am I going to give it as a citizen or a member of the planning board? And that's where I'd like input from the rest of you.
Well, it's almost similar to, let's say, Mr. Koza, for instance. He was speaking on behalf of the historical committee, but yet he's the direct abutter to the property, which was kind of archaic in that regard. It was like wearing two hats there. I think as private citizens, and I understand Larry's concern, you don't like to have dueling board members, but yet we didn't come to an agreement on this or a compromise. We came to a stalemate. So obviously each of us has our own opinion on how the land should be developed going forward or not. So I'm not adverse to getting up either at town meeting and expressing my concern. I think I'd probably do it as a private citizen rather than a planning board member. Paul, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, in terms of speaking to the public, it would be my opinion that we would be speaking as a private citizen, given that board did not vote in one way or the other. If we speak as an individual of the board, I think that is going to convey a potential disinformation or misinformation or whatever, the wrong picture as a collective board. I'm in the opinion that I think you have and everybody else has a voice as a private citizen, but if the board voted one way or the other, I think that would be the reference we would make as a board member to the particular town meeting. So that's my opinion. I feel it needs to take a personal opinion level if we're speaking on behalf of the planning board.
Yeah, and to expand on that, Paul, we're taxpayers too. We all have a vested interest in this, not just as a volunteer board. We have a tax base that we support, and we do have our personal opinions when it comes to that. So I agree with you. I don't want to belabor the point, but it's right now it's in Ed's hands, and the select board know what the decision is legally, so they'll go forward with it, and we'll just leave it be as the way it was presented, that it was no recommendation from this board. I got an email, and you guys had I don't know to what degree there was any discussion of the DLTA contract about the affordable housing that we're going to be, that PVPC has been contracted to do, but Jim Sini sent an email this week asking for a member or members to be a part of that subcommittee for affordable housing. And Dan has expressed an interest in being a part of it, and I don't know if anyone else is. Cindy, I know you've got a plate that's pretty full, so I'll not beg you to do that. I'll let you. But in my mind, in my opinion, is personally, I think this is we might have gotten the contract and did the legwork for the DLTA for housing. I think this is their project, to be quite frank. And I would like to see them with one of our members being present so he could maybe report back to us. But I'd like to see them take the ball and run with it on this. And then when PVPC gets down to the nitty gritty and ready for their report before it's finalized, that, you know, we have a joint meeting as a board, and then we can kind of express our concerns or input, but we could give that to Dan anyway to bring to the table. So I'd like to see them run with it, and when it comes to fruition and toward the end, that we weigh in on it, and hopefully it'll
Just,
take some shape.
just to add though, I think their board is a little anemic at this point. I think they're missing two, is it Dan? Two people.
You know, they're down, I think they're, yeah. Are they down to, or they lost another person? I know they just lost
Well,
another.
I think they only have three people.
Yeah, that's right. They only
On
have
the
three.
board right now,
Yeah.
and so that's just one, fact. And the second is kind of a question, and Sarah's on this right now. We assume she's going to be elected, looks pretty good. And this might be something that she also could consider participating with, because we well know that this idea of affordable housing in our town is a really important point. And, it would be an area, Sarah, if you're interested to consider once you're on the board. I think you could probably join after the fact, after you're elected.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested whenever that's, I guess, a possibility.
In addition to Dan, that would help the project a lot, I think, from what I understand of it.
Well, I guess the way I was looking at it is because PVPC has a couple of planners involved on it. They've got plenty of expertise, probably that far outweighs what we have on our board, not to minimize our accomplishments or talents, but they're probably going to be very versed in it, and we can chime in, but I think they're probably going to do the bulk of the work for us and for housing. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Cindy, do you have a brief
Yeah, I do.
report from MPIC?
Well, first of all, I just have a question, and this came up at that, what is it called? One-stop grant committee that I represented the planning board on for a very short time. I'm really not on that committee. And the question came up from the police chief about utilizing some grant money to consider the major issue that we're seeing at Norris School right now. I don't know if anybody's driven by there at, the time school gets out, but parent cars are literally lining up onto Route 10 right now. So it's really a really tough situation. So there's a question about using some money, some grant money to do a whole new traffic study. And one idea that came up was changing the direction of that Gun Road extension that goes just to the left of the school, just to the north of the school. And then I asked the question, well, if you're gonna do something as big as make a road a one-directional road, would that require a public hearing? And they said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, let me ask the planning board. Does anybody know? Maybe you don't know, or maybe this is a question to Ed, but A, does it require a public hearing to do something as major as that? And number two, who hosts the public hearing? Does anybody have any answers to that?
I can chime in if you like. This is a pretty big change that would have to be done. And the way that it would typically done in other communities is there's an outreach program that is administered by the town, and technically this is not really our purview. We have no jurisdiction on the the roadway configuration, how that runs, it's not really anything that is, correct me if I'm wrong, in our subdivision regulations for the most part. So the question about who proposed this, who will propose the public hearing, you know, I'm not sure who the best individual, I'm not sure if this is a school sponsored hearing or something of that sort, or if it's administered through Ed's office in one way or another to make the outreach. It doesn't really matter who that is, frankly. I think it's more that the message gets out, and whoever's responsible to administer the meeting discusses the pros and cons of such a change.
Yeah, personally, I think it might be select board in conjunction with highway, because, you know, something that major, I think, would have to come initiated through the select board, and then they probably, maybe they would have us entertain the public hearing if it ever got to that, but I think it has to initiate from them to begin with. That's a major change in a street and the curb cuts there.
So one way or the other, it would go back to at least to Ed, to have him kind of research and figure out process and steps to achieve it. It doesn't fall, I guess the answer is it does not fall to the planning board.
Not unless it's referred to us, I would believe.
Okay,
I did this for the city of Springfield around the X a couple of years back, and there was a whole public outreach meeting that was administered by the DPW. They held it at a school. There was, you know, a lot of, given the location of it, there was a lot of media and press that showed up as well. I mean, this is a big to-do. Granted, we're not a Springfield, we're Southampton. I would expect something to a, you know, context sensitive approach that the town's going to have to do, but this is something that can't just be, you know, willy-nilly done overnight. I mean, this is something that's got to be done in the face of a public hearing.
Sounds like it would take a couple of years too, Paul, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a couple of years, but depending on what the ultimate master plan is that the town has, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I mean, you're not just looking at the redirection of traffic. You're also looking at impacts to a parking layout that is already taxed during school events. You're looking at parking that's oversaturated during non-school events. You're looking at impacts that go all the way down to Route 10 as they do today. You're talking about also buses, right? And how they all interact. So there's a significant amount of moving parts that need to be discussed and thought out in terms of how they all fit into the puzzle.
Thank you.
thank
Anything-
you.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Cindy?
Yeah, I just emailed everybody before this meeting that I hope you all got it. It's a Word document, and it's the what they're calling the status report of the master plan process. I don't really want to discuss this tonight. I think this is something you should sort of all review and consume. Of concern to me, however, is that planning board is noted as either the primary or one of the board's committees on so many of the strategies, the goals and strategies. You're laughing, Paul? Mhm.
Oh, well,
But what I'm wondering is how this integrates with the work that's been happening already for years with Larry. And whether this is a proposal, we want to have Larry look at this, if he's able, physically able to look at this and, or another consultant and, you know, spend some time figuring out what's already been done, what needs to be done, and whether or not anything that's already been done should be reviewed again. Now, you'll notice in that because Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, specifically Ken Comia, did the consulting work on this, there's in my opinion, there's a propensity of recommendations of using PVPC, which is not bad, it's fine, but we have a different consultant. So, you know, I just want to make sure the planning board is sort of consuming this and coming up with the best way that we think to approach this. So many of the recommendations have to do with bylaw review or bylaw change. And so please consume it. And Sarah, I will send that to you too, so that you have it, because you'll be needing to look at it. And if you don't understand what's gone on for the last years, 2.5 years at this point, about the update of the master plan, you know, stop in and see me, because I've been on it for a couple of years now. So that's that, unless you have questions. Does anybody have any questions for me about that specifically?
I just have a comment that, to me, if we continue when Larry's well and get through this bylaw revision process, which we've been working on now for 3 years or better, you know, that's going to take care of a lot of the items on the list you just mentioned.
Good.
And I wouldn't even think of looking beyond that, whatever else is proposed that we've got on our plate, until we get that done. We get that done, that's going to really accomplish a lot. And then we can focus on something else. But to take our attention away from the bylaws, which we had a good amount of steam rolling there until he had a setback. I think we got to keep on with that and finish that. And between the master plan, how much is on the plate there, and the open space and recreation plan that Ed Gibson put forward, you know, I don't know if there's enough hours in a year or whatever for a board like this to undertake all that stuff. We'd be meeting probably 4 or 5 times a month in order to accomplish what the public wants us to accomplish for a
Yep.
volunteer board.
Well, on that note, it's a darn good thing we do have consultants, because you're right. Like you've pointed out many times, we're a volunteer board of varied, experience and knowledge, and that's fine. So look that over. And Paul, is it fair to say that we can share that with Larry and at least let him see it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, I represent planning board for CPC, and I really don't have anything special to say. There is a couple of warrants going to be on the town meeting that CPC is supporting, including supporting money for the Manhan Meadows Sanctuary Improvement, area. And I'm trying to think what else. But that's CPC. Also, the bylaws committee, if you remember, I'm not on that committee, but a proposed general bylaw came before the planning board several weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago. That has since gone through reviews by different boards and committees. And from what I understand from Chris Falls, we may get an opportunity to see that again, because there have been some changes and revisions on that, but that is not a priority. She asked me to at least present that to you as something that's probably going to come up again in a few months. In addition to that, we had talked about having a bylaw that created an alternate to the planning board at some point, and I offered to draft something out. I have not kept that on the top of my to-do list, and there also is no rush on that. So I just wanted you to know I still have that as something that I'll bring forth, but there is no rush on those things right now. And then finally, the Open Space Committee has been really busy the last several weeks with the programs supported by the Neighborhood Outreach Grant, which is a DCR grant. It's been pretty positively accepted. And we have 3 more programs, one this Friday, and that's land conservation speaking to large parcel landowners who are able to attend. And the second is Saturday of the ones coming up, and that's another guided hike at Clearwater Woodland. And the last one is a week from Friday, which is the 14th. I'm going to be opening a bottle of champagne after that's all over, in case you're wondering, because it's been a lot of work. But that's Scott Jackson from UMass. And if you can, and it's a Friday and it's at 1 o'clock and all you guys work, I know, and you can't just take the afternoon off, but that's going to be pretty spectacular. He's going to talk about climate change and the forests of the Northeast and how it's affected us. So I'm pretty excited about that, but that's going to be on Easthampton Media's YouTube site. So I will share a link to that when we know it, so you can have a chance to look at that and what that means. I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Dan, anything?
Nothing to share.
Paul, anything further?
No.
Sarah, any comments from you?
No.
Observations?
No, not really. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any other warrants. I don't have any other communications. So given that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll meet again the 19th of this month.
I will be absent that day. I'm out of town. Sorry.
So
I'm sorry. Like to make a motion to adjourn, unless you had something else to add, Paul.
I'll second.
second, Paul. Yeah. Motion's made by Paul and seconded by Dan to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
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 Have a good week and take care of yourselves.
You take
You
care of
too.
yourself, Paul.
Thank you.
Here, bye.
Good night now.
Good night.